Aha, the helpful stranger I've heard so much about. Here to do business, hmm? Clear my schedule. This newcomer has a meeting with me. Celia, will you make a note of that for my self-review? Very generous.
Noted.
But not so generous I can't drive a good bargain. Now, who sent you? Rizzo's, perhaps? Or Auntie Cleo herself? Oh. I suppose that means you aren't here for the Saltuna. Oh, a shame. I'd been saving a bottle of iceberg-aged whiskey for an occasion like this. I had hoped that livening up our advertisements with enticing figures would draw the other corporations back to our bosom, but it seems we're back to the drawing board. Thanks to the so-called hazard clause, Monarch has been cut off from the board's resources and protection for 10 years now.
So-called is right. We've got our hazards, but we're still here, damn it. The board took off without so much as a thought for the folks left behind.
And now you don't have to play by their rules. Sounds like a deal to me.
Now, we've kept ourselves in business by trading with individual corporations, but given the off-the-books nature of those transactions, such arrangements are precarious. Yes, freedom is a tempting ideal, but a rather costly paramour.
Well, Mr. Nandi here has a rather ingenious plan to get MSI restored to the board.
On our terms, mind you.
A lot of good that'll do. They'll just find another reason to turn tail and abandon you.
Not if we secure the proper safeguards first.
And if our advertising scheme hasn't borne fruit, then perhaps it's time we took matters into our own hands.
It's true, our Celia is an alarmingly competent middle manager. At any other company, she'd be wasted in data entry. The plan she refers to is a two-pronged approach, and the first part involves seeing Stellar Bay properly defended.
And a Mantisaur problem, and a Marauder problem.
Many, many problems, but they can all be solved with a Bolt 52 cartridge. If you can get us what we need to rejoin the board, starting with the Bolt 52, we won't need to advertise anymore. We can stop our transmissions altogether.
And you'll have a powerful ally on the board.
In the old arms building southwest of town, which used to be part of Stellar Bay before we had to move our walls in, these days it's overrun with marauders and raptidons. Do be careful. I've lost more than a few people to marauders and raptidons out there. Oh, and while you're at it, there should be a terminal in the arms building with some dangerous information. Perhaps you could delete it so it doesn't fall into the wrong hands. What can I do for you? I see. And was his delivery of the MSI authorized greeting up to snuff? Well, that's excellent. I'll see that your feedback makes it into his review. What else can I do for you? Then it's good that I keep such meticulous notes. Why wouldn't anyone? They own nearly all the resources and infrastructure in Halcyon.
Yeah, that'd go a long way toward rebuilding our homes.
If you can't beat him, might as well join him and reach into their pockets.
To be on the board is to be part of the colonial community, and being cut off means slow strangulation. Indeed, we've got to consider realities, not ideals. If membership on the board can ease our hardships and provide us with opportunities, then that's the path I mean to pursue. Besides, I'm hopeful that additional leverage on our part will allow us a more equitable relationship.
Don't get ahead of yourself, sir.
Yes, it'll be easier to explain once we have the BOLT 52. My hope is to maintain the reforms we've managed here, and who knows? Perhaps once we're restored, we could spread them to other corporations. I've asked myself the same thing many times, especially seeing as the legal mechanisms we employed were part of the board's own bylaws. Not intentionally, though that's technically true. For many years, this planet was home to as many corporations as Terra 2, but back then it was known as Terra 1. As you may have noticed, this planet has more than its share of hazards.
That ain't fair. They didn't leave on account of the hazards. They left on account of their cowardice. The hazards just gave them a reason to put to paper.
Sharp as ever, Nyoka. And as the other corporations began to tally their losses, they decided to pull out. MSI's leadership at the time certainly thought so, but there were others of us who saw an opportunity. The chance to improve working hours and conditions, to reform MSI from the ground up. Ah, so you've heard about our prior acquaintance. It was a lapse in judgment on my part, and one I'm not keen to recall. Graham seemed like a reasonable man years ago. We both agreed that MSI's treatment of its workers was untenable. I thought reforms would be enough. I didn't realize you wanted to abolish the corporate system entirely. Reforms are humane, but they're also good business sense. Exhausted, sick, and malnourished workers are not productive workers. Even a cursory review of the data bears that out. Anyway, we learned of a loophole in the corporate bylaws that would allow MSI to claim ownership of the entire planet once the other corporations pulled out, creating the perfect environment for us to enact these new reforms. That's what I thought. But the senior executives laughed in our faces and insisted we'd be relocating to Terra 2 along with everyone else. Yes, some of us stayed behind, and as the most senior executive remaining, I ended up in charge of what was left of MSI.
Must have pissed off some real big suits to get stuck with that.
On the contrary, I wrote lots of very important reports on behalf of top MSI officials before I was able to achieve this position. I moved forward with our planned reforms, as well as our strategy to assume ownership of the planet. Yet not long after I renamed it Monarch, the other corporations dislodged us from the board and began an official campaign to paint us as lawless savages. I don't think I realized how far they'd stoop. Everything we did was legal and above board. We followed their rules, and yet they still found reasons to declare us outlaws. I do think there's something useful in a governing body like the board. Something that keeps us from anarchy, but I dearly wish it functioned differently.
It's straight bullshit is what it is. A fabrication rich folks use to preserve their investments by leaving a lot of people here to die slow.
Nyoka has the right of it. It's a legal provision that gives the board the authority to cordon off any planet or location that it deems dangerous. For the greater good. Allegedly. Yes, making all of MSI criminals in the board's eyes. Rather hard to run a business that way. Well, technically he may have suggested it, but he certainly wasn't doing the paperwork himself. Technically, he does. What exactly are you accusing me of? Until we're back on the board, I need to run those advertisements. If there's no business on Monarch, then we all starve. Hiram included. What can I do for you?
Help! Someone's been killed!
stalking, and we're stalking.
Hello? Hello? I hear boots out there. Wait, can rats hear boots? Oh, thank the Eternal. I'm Huxley. Hux if you're lazy. I'm stuck. My friends and I were scavenging here, and a Manta Queen showed up. Then Raptidons. It was a void-blasted mess. I ran in here, and, now the door's locked. Little help? It's easier than it sounds, all right? Next time you get chased by Raptidons, you let me know the rationality of your decisions. Phew. Thanks, mister. My buddy had a key, but I ain't heard him in a while. He locked me in here and took off. Probably got munched. So look for a dead guy, I guess. Or a rat. Maybe it's in a rat belly. Gross. Oh, much obliged.
Ah, phew. Thank you so much. It was getting all stuffy in there, and I was getting a mite lightheaded, and I think maybe I was gonna die. Now I'm out here, and I'm headed back to Amber Heights.
Still landing yourself in trouble, eh, Hux?
Oh, hi, Nyoka. You mind giving me an escort back home? Oh, you're traveling with someone. Never mind. Oh, sure, I'm a runner. I'm used to getting all dizzy and... Hey, who's your identical, slightly blurry friend? Yes, sir.
You should know you're getting excellent reviews from across the company. What can I do for you? Oh, yes. I'm going to be up all night with this. All those blanks waiting to be filled, boxes waiting to be ticked.
Try to control yourself, sir.
Have you any idea how powerful this is? Corporations have been toppled with less. What a question! Bureaucratic micromanagement is the only way anything gets done in Halcyon, and proper documentation is a key part of that. For our part, a bill of liquidation/transfer Form 52 will protect our holdings on Monarch by temporarily assigning them to a pass-through entity once we drop our bomb on the board. Corporate espionage. How was that, Celia? Did I sell it?
Your best delivery yet, sir.
I have reason to believe that one of the other corporations is operating on Monarch, illegally and in secret.
Really? Most of the time they do illegal stuff out in the open. Cheaper that way.
If we can find proof, I can use that as leverage to encourage certain powers that be to accept our Bolt 52 and reinstate us on the board. If someone is operating here, then Catherine's almost certainly supplying them out of Fallbrook. Perhaps she could be convinced to tell you where they are. Already? If only the rest of the colony operated as efficiently as you. Imagine what a different state we'd be in, hmm? I'll complete the Bolt 52 in no time. I dare say it'll be my second greatest achievement after the reformations.
You're getting ahead of yourself again.
So I am. Do you have this cartridge? I knew there was something going on. This is exactly the proof we need. The board will have to welcome us back now. I'll transmit this data along with the completed Bolt 52 right away. After that, we'll sit back and quietly wait for the board to respond.
That means no more broadcasts from us.
You weren't supposed to look. I asked you to delete it. Oh, yes. No doubt someone else was having a laugh at my expense before you. This has been my albatross. The great shame of my career. I give MSI everything. My work, my youth, my left kidney, and for years, I was a joke to them. One of the executives required a transplant.
He's lucky they didn't want a liver or a heart.
I thought volunteering to donate might improve my prospects. Apparently not. Oh, perhaps they were right. After all, what have I built? Stellar Bay is barely keeping afloat. I hadn't thought of it that way. But perhaps there's something to that. Thank you for that. Was there something else?